Hello, everyone. I'm Jacqui Hanlon. I'm Director of Learning and National Partnerships at the RSC. And when I was at school, which is 30 years ago now, my parents worked on the track at the Longbridge car factory. So arts and culture, they weren't part of my family life. And the life and career that I've had were made possible because an English teacher joined my secondary school in the equivalent of year 8 and started to introduce school plays and drama into the curriculum. And by doing that, that one teacher completely transformed the trajectory of my life. I know that we'll all want to make sure that potential and initiative matter more than your background or the place that you grew up. But 30 years on from my experience, it should concern us, I think it concerns us all, that that kind of story still feels like it's an exception rather than the rule. So I'm particularly grateful to have this opportunity to talk about talent pipeline. And specifically, I'm going to talk about what I understand about student views about the theatre industry and the arts more generally as a career and access to the industry, as well as exploring what might therefore some of the levers for change might be. The first point I want to make is that the diversity we need and look for in the theatre sector, in the arts sector, is already in our classrooms. But we need to ask ourselves, what information and what experiences do all young people have in their early lives that enable them to see opportunities in theatre careers that they may otherwise have no knowledge about? There is a vital link between the kinds of opportunities, knowledge and experience that young people get at school and the opportunities they then believe they can pursue in their working lives. Research suggests that approximately 1/3 of students will only ever access theatre and arts experiences through their schools. So we know there's a direct correlation between young people participating in arts activities out of school and the experiences they have in school. So i.e., if they attend what we might call an arts-rich school, they are much more likely to have arts-rich lives and therefore believe that they can pursue a career in that sector. At the RSC, we undertook a 3-year longitudinal piece of research with Nottingham University and Tate, finding out what young people thought about the relevance and value of arts subjects. We believe it's the largest scale study that's been done to date in the UK. We analysed responses from 5,500 young people aged 14 to 18 in state schools across England. Now, they told us that art subjects and experiences at school enhance their lives now and prepare them for life after school by developing critical thinking and their capacity to interpret the world around them, by developing a sense of their own identity and agency, by building their self-belief, their confidence, empathy, appreciation of difference and diversity. I mean, the list goes on. But for all of those benefits, those young people and their teachers also told us in overwhelming numbers that they feel it is becoming harder to have access to and prioritise theatre and arts and cultural subjects and experiences. They told us that they feel the arts are less valued than other subjects and are therefore seen as less valuable. And that view can be held by parents too, who will support their children in decision-making about future career choices. One 16-year-old spoke for many when they said, in this school, there's a massive push for girls to do STEM subjects. We are missing women in STEM subjects, but we are missing out on the arts nationally, and that's just as bad. So that research also looked at why the arts were seen in that way, why theatre and the arts were seen in that way, which is to do with a series of unintended consequences. For example, things like the prioritisation of the STEM agenda. For example, the focusing of school performance measurements on some subjects and not others. Those things are contentious, but they do contribute to a sense for young people that the arts, including theatre, don't count. And if that's the message that they're getting, and they are telling us in very large numbers that it is, how can a career in theatre and the arts feel viable? So there's an issue to resolve for us about the lack of confidence we as a society have about the place and importance of theatre and art subjects and experiences in primary and secondary schools. That matters broadly because, as the CBI has stated, employers are still raising concerns about a perceived narrowing of the school curriculum, in particular the decline in creative subjects. Commentators, experts like Andreas Schleicher from the OECD have talked about the important richness of an arts education, and that that's never been more important as part of an education which opens minds and develops flexible, work-ready attitudes, attributes, and capabilities. But the place and value of art subjects and experiences matter specifically because by the time someone is 14, let alone by the time they're 18, they can already have decided whether or not there are opportunities in the potential careers they want to pursue. If they've not had access to a range of arts experiences, if they don't know about the currently invisible range of careers that exist in theatres, whether that's being an arts learning practitioner or a producer or a prop maker or a costume designer, if they don't know those jobs exist, how can they aspire to enter the profession? There are filters that exist in terms of entry into the theatre profession. Those filters are about experience, economics, and knowledge. If you don't have the experience of arts disciplines, you don't know you can work in them. If you don't have the money to get those experiences, and if you go to a school or college that isn't arts rich and doesn't provide those experiences, how can you know they exist? If you don't have the knowledge that careers in theatre exist, how can you know to aspire to work in them? So that leads to a second point I want to make, which is about careers guidance. We need to ensure there is better knowledge about careers in working in theatre, using the existing Gatsby benchmarks for careers guidance. But we also need to look at the Gatsby benchmarks and see whether they ever reference arts and cultural careers, including portfolio careers. They do reference STEM careers in their examples, but I haven't seen any arts and cultural careers referenced, including theatre. We need to normalise careers in the arts, not treat them as exceptions for an elite. Looking at existing careers guidance and how far arts and culture get referenced in any of it, including, of course, theatre careers, is a really important step. We need a joined up strategy that flows from formal education into apprenticeships, into higher education, where a consistent and confident message is given that careers in the arts exist and that there are inclusive pathways into them for young people, and that the skills you develop in that are transferable to any career pathway you might want to embark on. They provide skills for life, skills for work. Another consideration I want to raise is about a group of people who are excluded from many, many work opportunities, including theatre and arts, which is people with learning disabilities. Research tells us that only 6% of people with learning disabilities are in paid employment in the UK, yet according to MENCAP, 65% of people with learning disabilities want to work. A person with learning disabilities is 10 times more likely to be lifetime unemployed. So we know that in the widest possible industry sector, there are outside of arts and culture, there are really strong models of supported internship in operation. And that kind of specific provision needs to be a feature of any future careers initiatives or schemes, recognising that different kinds of pathway and support need to be provided to ensure a truly inclusive set of opportunities. And I just want to finish with final examples from the RSC of work that we're doing in this territory. So we're committed to becoming a teaching theatre based on the principle or the model of teaching hospitals, which are hospitals that also have responsibility to train the next generation of medical professionals. The RSC do and will continue to invest in the support and training of part of the next generation of theatre professionals. But the way we're doing that is through existing partnerships with schools and colleges and regional theatres that focus on young people and communities experiencing structural disadvantage. Our ambition is to work through that extended network of schools and theatre partners nationally to create progression routes for young people into targeted paid apprenticeship opportunities across all areas of the business. But our talent development and theatre careers work starts in primary schools, starting to seed knowledge, experience and ambitions from an early age. Primary school head teachers tell us that now, when they ask their year 6 children what they want to be, they talk now about wanting to be designers, about wanting to be stage managers, about wanting to be prop makers. Whereas previously they talked about a very narrow sense, in a very narrow sense of what it was possible for them to do. They could only see what did their family do or what was on the high street. So that porousness between theatres and schools, it should be the norm. both in terms of learning and participation work, but also in terms of structured and targeted pathways into employment. Thank you.